For decades, the British monarchy has survived through tradition, patience, and carefully planned transitions. Every gesture, every appearance, and every public moment carries meaning far beyond what the cameras capture. But recently, a dramatic question has captured the attention of royal watchers around the world. Did King Charles really begin shifting the future of the monarchy away from Queen Camilla and toward Catherine, Princess of Wales? The headlines have suggested a shocking royal power struggle, a story of a crown taken away from one woman and quietly passed to another. But behind the dramatic claims lies a much more complicated reality. Because in the world of royalty, power is rarely transferred through a single announcement or a symbolic gesture. Instead, influence moves slowly, through trust, responsibility, and the role each person plays in protecting the future of the institution. And now, speculation is growing that King Charles may have made a decision that changed the balance inside the palace forever. For many years, Camilla stood beside Charles through some of the most difficult chapters of his life. Their relationship faced intense public criticism, years of scrutiny, and constant media attention. Yet, despite the challenges, Camilla eventually became Queen Consort when Charles ascended the throne. It was a journey that few royal observers expected would reach that point. Her transformation from a controversial figure into a respected senior royal was built over decades of public service. Through charitable work, royal engagements, and a quieter approach to public life, Camilla worked to establish her own place within the monarchy. So why would there suddenly be speculation about her influence being reduced? The answer may not be about removing Camilla at all. Instead, it may be about one unavoidable reality of monarchy: preparing for the future. When Charles became king, he inherited not only a crown but also a responsibility. His reign would not simply be judged by what he achieved during his own years as monarch. History would also judge whether he successfully prepared the institution for the generation that comes next. And that generation has one clear face: Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. For years, Catherine has gradually become one of the monarchy's most recognizable and admired figures. Her approach has been different from previous generations. Rather than focusing only on traditional appearances, she has built a reputation around long-term causes, especially those connected to children, families, mental health, and social well-being. Her ability to connect with the public has become one of her greatest strengths. During difficult personal moments, including her health challenges and time away from public duties, public support for Catherine remained remarkably strong. When she returned, the reaction showed something extremely valuable for any royal institution: trust. And trust is perhaps the most important asset a modern monarchy can have. A crown may represent authority, but public confidence gives that authority meaning. King Charles understands this reality better than almost anyone. Having spent decades preparing for his own role, he knows that a successful monarchy depends on ensuring the next generation is ready before the moment arrives. This may explain why William and Catherine have increasingly appeared at major royal events and taken on greater responsibilities. To some observers, this looks like a quiet transfer of influence. To others, it is simply normal preparation. The distinction is important. There is no official confirmation that Charles has removed Camilla's authority or reduced her role. Queen Camilla remains a central member of the royal family, continuing her duties alongside the king. However, royal watchers have noticed that the public image of the monarchy is increasingly focused on William and Catherine. Their appearances receive enormous attention, and their future roles naturally place them at the center of conversations about the institution's survival. The monarchy has always operated on symbolism. A meeting, a public appearance, or a new responsibility can send a message without anyone saying a single word. And this is where the speculation begins. Some believe Charles is simply strengthening the future of the monarchy by giving William and Catherine more experience. Others argue that the shift represents a deeper change, one where Catherine's growing influence has begun to overshadow Camilla's position. But behind all of these discussions is a more personal question. How does Camilla feel about a future where the spotlight slowly moves toward the next generation? After everything she endured to reach the position of Queen Consort, would she accept seeing the institution prepare for a future that no longer centers around her? According to some royal commentators, concerns may have emerged about maintaining her place and protecting the legacy she worked so hard to build. The issue would not necessarily be about her title. That title is already secured. The deeper concern would be influence. Because within royal circles, influence is not always measured by official positions. It is measured by access, responsibility, and proximity to important decisions. Who is consulted? Who represents the monarchy at important moments? Whose voice carries weight behind palace doors? These are the questions that fuel speculation. Throughout history, royal power has often shifted quietly. A monarch's closest advisors change. Responsibilities move between family members. New generations slowly become more visible. And sometimes, the transition begins long before the official moment arrives. This may be exactly what many observers believe is happening now. Not a dramatic removal of Camilla. Not a public confrontation. But a gradual preparation for the reign that will eventually follow. For Charles, the challenge is balancing two responsibilities. One is personal loyalty to the woman who stood beside him through decades of criticism. The other is his duty as king to protect the institution he represents. A monarch must think beyond personal relationships. Every decision must consider what will strengthen the crown for future generations. And that could be why Catherine's role appears to be expanding. Because when William eventually becomes king, Catherine will not simply be his wife. She will become queen. Preparing her for that responsibility is not unusual. It is part of ensuring continuity. The same way Charles spent his entire life preparing for his own reign, Catherine's current experiences may be preparing her for hers. But this raises another question. If Catherine's rise is part of a carefully planned future, what does that mean for Camilla's own legacy? Will history remember her as the woman who helped Charles stabilize the monarchy after years of controversy? Or will she be remembered as the queen who watched the institution begin moving toward a new generation? The answer may depend on how the next chapter unfolds. Because inside the palace, every decision carries consequences. Every appearance creates a message. And every change, no matter how subtle, tells a story. The real battle may never have been about a physical crown. It may have been about something far more valuable, the trust, influence, and future direction of the British monarchy. And as Catherine steps further into the spotlight, the world is watching closely. Because if the reports are true, the biggest royal transition may already be happening quietly, long before the next coronation ever begins. As the speculation surrounding the future of the monarchy continues, one thing has become increasingly clear. The greatest changes inside the royal family are rarely announced with dramatic statements. Instead, they happen slowly. A new responsibility here. A larger public role there. A different family member standing beside the monarch during important moments. Over time, these small changes create a picture of where the institution is heading. And for many royal observers, that picture appears to show Catherine, Princess of Wales, becoming one of the monarchy's most important figures. But does Catherine's rise mean Camilla's influence is disappearing? Or is the reality far more complicated? The answer may lie in understanding the difference between replacing someone and preparing someone. Because those two things are not the same. Queen Camilla's position remains unique. She is the wife of the reigning monarch, and her journey to becoming Queen Consort represents one of the most remarkable transformations in modern royal history. Few people faced as much public criticism as Camilla did during the early years of her relationship with Charles. 4 years, she was surrounded by controversy. Yet she remained committed to public duties and slowly changed the way many people viewed her. Through patience and consistency, Camilla built a reputation based on service rather than popularity. She supported important causes, represented the crown at countless events, and became a reliable partner for Charles during his transition into kingship. That achievement cannot simply be erased. However, the monarchy has always been bigger than any individual. Every royal figure eventually becomes part of a larger story, one that continues beyond their own time. And this is where Catherine's growing role becomes significant. Catherine represents the next chapter. Together with Prince William, she represents continuity, stability, and the future face of the institution. For King Charles, preparing them is not necessarily a rejection of Camilla. It may simply be the responsibility of a monarch who understands that time moves forward. A king must always look ahead. He must consider what the monarchy will need 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and beyond his own reign. That responsibility can sometimes create difficult choices. Because personal emotions and royal duty do not always point in the same direction. If reports about Camilla's concerns are accurate, her situation would represent a deeply human struggle. Imagine spending decades fighting for acceptance, finally reaching the highest position within the monarchy, and then watching attention naturally move toward those who will follow. For anyone, that transition could be difficult. But royal history is filled with moments where one generation makes space for another. The institution survives because it adapts. The crown itself remains constant, but the people carrying its responsibilities change. This may explain why King Charles appears determined to strengthen William and Catherine's position. Their future roles require preparation. They must understand the expectations, pressures, and responsibilities that come with being the future king and queen. Every major public appearance becomes an opportunity to build experience. Every engagement becomes a lesson. Every international visit helps prepare them for the moment when the responsibility becomes theirs. And Catherine's ability to connect with the public may be one of the monarchy's greatest advantages. In an age where institutions across the world struggle to maintain public trust, personal connection has become more important than ever. People want to see authenticity. They want to see compassion. They want to see representatives who understand modern concerns while respecting tradition. Many royal supporters believe Catherine has developed exactly that balance. Her approach has been careful and consistent. She has avoided unnecessary controversy and focused on issues that affect everyday families. This has strengthened her image as a future queen who understands both tradition and change. Meanwhile, William has continued taking on more responsibilities as heir. Together, William and Catherine represent a partnership that many believe will define the monarchy's future. But where does this leave Camilla? Perhaps the answer is not that she has lost. Perhaps her role has simply changed. Camilla's greatest contribution may not be measured by how much attention she receives today. Instead, history may judge her by the stability she helped create during Charles's reign. She helped him through the transition from heir to monarch. She supported him during a challenging period for the royal family. And she played a major role in reshaping public perceptions of their relationship. That legacy remains important. The mistake many people make is viewing royal roles as a competition, as if one person's rise must mean another person's fall. But the monarchy does not function that way. Different generations can hold different responsibilities at the same time. A queen consort can serve the present. A future queen can prepare for tomorrow. Both can exist together. The real question is whether the public will continue to see this transition as natural evolution or as a sign of internal tension. Because perception matters. The monarchy is built not only on tradition but also on public acceptance. If people believe the institution is moving forward successfully, then change becomes easier to accept. But if people believe someone has been pushed aside, controversy can grow quickly. This is why every royal decision receives such intense attention. A simple appearance can become a symbol. A new role can become a statement. A photograph can create endless speculation. And perhaps that is why the story of Charles, Camilla, and Catherine has attracted so much interest. It represents something much bigger than three individuals. It represents the timeless challenge facing every monarchy. How do you respect the past while preparing for the future? King Charles inherited a centuries-old institution. But he also inherited the responsibility of ensuring it survives in a rapidly changing world. For him, strengthening William and Catherine may be less about removing Camilla and more about ensuring that the monarchy remains prepared. Because eventually, every reign reaches its final chapter. Every monarch must eventually pass the responsibility forward. And when that moment comes, the success of the transition will depend on the preparation done years before. Perhaps the biggest misunderstanding is that the crown is only a physical object. A jewel. A symbol. A piece of history. But the true power of the monarchy has always been something less visible. Trust. Respect. Connection. Those are the things that determine whether a royal institution survives. And right now, the future appears to be built around William and Catherine. Not because Camilla's contribution has disappeared, but because every generation must eventually prepare the way for the next. So perhaps the real story was never about King Charles taking a crown away from Camilla and giving it to Kate. Perhaps the real story is about a quiet transition already beginning. A transition of responsibility. A transition of influence. A transition from one generation of the monarchy to another. Only time will reveal how history remembers this moment. Will it be seen as a dramatic royal shift, or simply as another chapter in the long story of a monarchy that has survived by adapting? One thing is certain. The world will continue watching every move made inside the palace. Because behind the walls of royal tradition, the future of the crown is always being written. And the next chapter may already have begun.